Hello, Internet. Welcome back to our Cataclysm Golf Course scenario playthrough. In the last I don't even know what to put in this edited intro section. We didn't really do much in the last episode. We did find some storage batteries, which is pretty cool, because now we don't have to worry about trying to cut them out of a vehicle because you need a hacksaw to do that. I still don't fully understand why you cut a battery out of something. You assume it would be bolted in, but okay. Now, on that note, on the hacksaw note, I've been complaining a lot about how we can't do a lot of vehicle work without a hacksaw. And someone on Discord the other day, they said something like, "Oh, you don't even need a hacksaw." And my immediate response was, "Hey man, I'm stuck in my current game because I don't have a hacksaw and I can't do anything with frames because I don't have a hacksaw." And they said, "Can't you get frames with just a wrench?" And that got me thinking, because I think that you actually can. We have a wrench. I think you can take doors off of vehicles and it gives you a frame. This did not even occur to me, but we're going to try to rip a door off here. I think they give frames, if I remember right. Quarter panels and boards give sheet metal. Oh, and my puppers are very aggressive. Excuse me a moment. Oh, usually when my dogs get that aggro, it's someone's at the door. Not today. Seems like it's just my neighbor making more problems. Big shock. My neighbors are causing me trouble again. Alright, so let's rip some doors off of this. So yes, to remove a door you only need a bolt turning tool, which we have, and they give frames, which means we can start doing some vehicle work just by ripping. Oh, we don't even need to come over here. Just by ripping some doors off. Now, we still are limited. We still desperately need a hacksaw because it will let us do things like take down solar panels, or I'm sorry, storage batteries from vehicles, which we can't do without a hacksaw. Similarly, I don't think we can take quarter panels off, so any sheet metal would have to be sourced manually. Now, thankfully, sheet metal is one of those things that's actually pretty easy to source from non-vehicle parts, like just shelving units and stuff, so we don't have to worry about that. We will need a lot of those for boards and things. It makes things more difficult not having a hacksaw, but we at least can start harvesting frames. So now we have 4 frames, so we'll bring those back to base. So today we're going to do vehicle work. Like that's what we're going to focus today. Something I've wanted to do for a while. I've been getting bored doing the same things over and over and over, and yeah, taking a break for a couple episodes to work on a vehicle is a great way to refresh and stop focusing on, just exploring 99% of the time. It just gets a little old. Sun's going down as well, so I think we'll go back and read as well to just raise some skills. Still don't really have the books we want. We would like some higher tier fabrication books. We would like to raise our mechanics and electronics higher. We could start learning computers for when we want to get around to, is it computers or electronics that affects bionic installation chance? I don't remember. I don't get the computer skill. Most of the computers in the game require such a high computer skill that unless you have like a 9 in computers, it's almost not even worth it to try to hack things. So I almost never raise computers. Devices too, with lockpicking being the way it is, where they try to improve lockpicking, but they haven't really caught up to it yet, so you can spend several hours picking a lock, and then we saw this in a previous playthrough where it would trigger alarm after alarm after alarm after alarm, because the alarm system was not really updated to match the new kind of learn by doing proficiency stuff that was added to the game. So it's just a little bit difficult to raise devices and lockpicking manually at the moment. Hoping they'll address that in the future, or heck, maybe they have. I haven't been keeping up with the updated with things that are being updated, so maybe it has been changed already. Get a fire going so we have some light to read by. How are we doing on our wood pile, by the way? 33 planks, that's plenty for now. We'll need to make a wood run in a few days, but it's not a big deal. So let's have a look at our books here. In fact, let's sort our stuff. We may have picked up some additional books. It looks like we already did. So internal combustion is a mechanics book. I think it takes to mechanics 6 is internal combustion. Is that correct? Where is... Oh, it's in my inventory. I'm a dummy. Internal combustion. Takes your mechanics to 8, but requires mechanics 3, which we don't have. We only have mechanics 2, if I recall correctly. And we don't have mechanics books to raise that any further. Oh, we do have mechanics 3. So why is it purple? Mechanics 4 needed to understand. Did it not just say 3 to 8? Requires, oh, I see. My current skill is 3. My mistake. That's a bummer. Raising mechanics to level 4 is something we could do through craft raising. Mechanics you can craft raise and put vehicle stuff together. I would say around level 5 is when it really gets difficult to grind manually, because it requires a lot of kind of rarer materials. Like one of my go-tos back in the day was pipe rifles and stuff. Those can be a little tricky to harvest all the pieces you need to make a pipe rifle. Same with, I think it's like a harpoon gun. It requires rubber hoses or something like that. Obviously, rubber hoses are plentiful. You can find them in every refrigerator on the map, but you need so many of them to grind up your skills, really, without, constantly disassembling and things like that. Anyway, we could craft raise our mechanics. I don't think we really care that much. Getting to mechanics 8 is not something I need. We will need like mechanics 4. What do I usually need mechanics for? We need mechanics for installing a lot of the parts we would want, like solar panels. I think require mechanics 4 or 5, depending on the type of. Maybe we should work on mechanics. Okay. What could we do with the mechanics here? Pipe cleaners requires mechanics 1. That's not going to do it. Turret mount, vehicle controls. No, these again would require specialized materials. Heating elements, not the easiest thing to come by. Although it's probably easier to make heating elements than it would be to try and make vehicle controls over and over and over. Requires pipe fittings to make vehicle controls. I mean, we have the materials, we just need the welder. Maybe we should just make a few of these to raise our skill. What is our current percentage in mechanics? 13%. Yeah, we're not going to be able to get all the way there, but we can take the arc welder and make a few things. Why not? I mean, what else are we doing right now? P mechanics. Let's get a question as well, so we have something to talk about. Been a real downer in the last few episodes. People keep telling me it's fine, but I talk about such heavy things. I don't want to talk about heavy things. Get a question here. Don't look at the list. Click. Who has had the most influence on your life? I just said I don't want to talk about negative things. So normally when I get asked a question like that, I would say like, oh, my stepfather and his abuse shaped me forever into the man that I am. But instead of that, instead of being miserable, let's talk about positive influences. So who's had the most positive impact on my life? I've had basically 2 mentors over the course of my life, or a few people who have stepped up to try and mentor me and teach me kind of how to be a man, or how to be successful, things like that. So let's talk about those people instead of being a huge downer. We'll make some vehicle controls. Oh, actually, let me look at the timing on this. P mechanics, 1.5 hours. Yeah, we can do that. That's fine. Use the scrap metal. It's a little easier to come by. So I had a mentor in my teenage years. For sure had an impact on my life. He was that gave us a lot of mechanics, actually. Maybe we should focus on harvesting like pipe fittings and stuff to try and make more vehicle controls, because they gave us a like 20% increase. Currently all we need is more pipes, which is also very easy to come by. Let's go. Where's my spear at? Lost a spear here. No, that's copper spear. Oh no, where would I have put my spear? We made a steel spear. I really don't want to invest the time to make another one. Oh no. Oh, this always happens. Oh, this always happens. I drop my spear to do something and then I forget where it is. That's real bad. Oh, that's really bad. No. Oh, okay. If we dropped it in a previous episode, it might be anywhere in town. I assume I wielded my gun at some point, and that was why I dropped it. Oh, that sucks so bad. I hate when this happens. Maybe we dropped it while we were doing vehicle work. No. Oh, you. Oh, okay. Oh, internet. I don't know where to look for this spear. That sucks so bad. Alright. Well, I guess we'll figure it out. Oh, wait, I see it. I'm an idiot. I wasn't looking at the list. It's right there. Where are you? How did you get over here? Why are you here? Oh, because we were cutting up MREs. That's right. Let's haul this crap inside. Oh, that's scary when that happens. Anyway, what was I doing? I was going to go harvest pipes. Yes, let's go do that. Anyway, I've had a couple mentors in my life, a couple people who have stepped up. I told you in a previous episode, some series somewhere, I had a guy when I was a teenager, I was a preteen. He moved in basically near us, and turned out he was a very wealthy man. Fresh out of college, his dad owned a huge... did I ever say his business? I shouldn't say what his business is, but like you might even recognize the name of the business, depending on where you live. Very famous business, like they millions and millions of dollars. And yeah, he moved in next door to us. He was trying to live, I didn't know most of this stuff as a kid, but like he was trying to live, without his father's money basically, and make his own way. And he moved in, and this is a very small town with a very small community, and he started teaching like youth basketball and doing stuff at our community center, being very involved with the community. And he took an interest in us. Me and my brother were trying to get into what's it called, Big Brothers Big Sisters. When we were kids, we didn't have very many positive adult relationships, so we had been trying for a long time to get into like Big Brothers Big Sisters and stuff, and we couldn't get in for whatever reason. I don't know. I was a kid, no one ever told me why, but we couldn't get in, and this guy basically stepped up and was like, oh yeah, why not? I'm teaching youth basketball, and I took the like youth basketball, and he tried to teach me soccer stuff, and he was just like a pretty decent guy in my mind. So he, as a preteen, was a positive influence on me. He would have been, I don't know, 26 maybe not even that old when he was here. Let's smash these toilets and bathtubs. I don't know where all gives pipe fittings, and it is a resilient bathtub. My goodness. So he was a positive influence. I was a little too young to really get any kind of mentorship from him, but he definitely was a positive impact on me as a young man. And he got me interested in some things I normally wouldn't be very interested in. So I thought that was pretty cool. Really, no pipe fittings from a sink, really. So it looks like it's just... we got some from the washers, the clothes washer, and we got some wax and stuff that I do think is good to pick up while we're gathering debris, basically. Ceramic shards, I just don't need those things. We did get pipe fittings this time. I wonder which thing gave the pipe fittings, though. I also don't need a bunch of water faucets. Take the tubing, though. We're just gonna smash up their whole indoor plumbing here. What do you got in the fridge? Anything worth taking before I batter you? Doesn't look like it. We'll take the gallon jug, I guess. I have inventory space. Smash that to smithereens. So he didn't have like a huge impact, but he definitely showed me that not everyone was abusive and terrible. So that was like a real important lesson for me to learn. Unfortunately, I didn't really take it to heart until I was much older. So that's one positive influence I've had in my life. As I got older and became a teenager, I got involved with a church. I'd always hated religion. I was an atheist, pretty hardcore atheist, and I don't know, I was interested in religion in some capacity. I always was fascinated by people who have a strong belief system, whether that's religion or just a personal belief system. So it was interesting to interact with people at the church and see people who were trying to live as good, like wholesome people, and it was such a staggering difference from what I'd experienced, again, just with a kind of a bad youth that I was living. And yeah, I met an older guy. He was 25 years older than me, and for whatever reason, he just started to take an interest in me. We would talk a lot about my personal life and my childhood and trying to live and be a better person. But also I was doing a lot of bad things at the time. And I'm not really sure how it happened, but we ended up being, he was like my mentor. He was like my father figure through my teen years. And he was a really good dude, owned his own business, very wealthy man. He was an electrical engineer. He would do high-end security and sound systems. So like, some guy buys a house for $1 million, decides to put in a home theater with like speakers that flip out of the walls and a smart house security system. And, some guy wants it so that if his, he has like a daughter or whatever, and her bedroom window opens in the middle of the night, a voice comes over the speakers and says, little Susie's bedroom door is open. You have so many seconds to respond. We'll call the police, that kind of thing. So he did a lot of that smart home type stuff. So he did very well for himself. And I don't know, he took an interest in me. I responded very well to him. He was, as a teenager, you meet people, you think, or maybe, I don't know if this is true for everyone, but for me, when I was a teenager, every male that I knew was like hyper aggressive alpha male types, super toxic masculinity. And I come from an area that's very rural, and in my area, a man is supposed to be a manly man, right? A woman, for the most part, where I'm from, is a homemaker. They don't really have careers. They don't really branch out and do their own thing. They're very much, you're supposed to be a mother, So men as well, I mean, women definitely have it rough with those things, but men also have this opinion of like, if you're not super masculine or whatever, we should have been using the fences. That's the most obvious place to get pipes. Why would I not have thought of that? We really need something better to smash with. I should have brought the home wrecker, not the this plank. This plank depletes your stamina so much. Let's go try the home wrecker. Since we're going to be doing this for a while, we'll take the spear back. Anyway, people have this like toxic masculine thing. You have to be in sports. You have to be a fighter. You have to be a drunk. You have to work in a factory. You have to know how to fix your own plumbing. You have to know how to do this and that and this. You're not a man if you don't know how to fix your car. And just like really unpleasant like nonsense, Like obviously there are plenty of men in the world who are men but don't fix their own vehicle like that you don't have to understand a car, an engine in order to be a man. That's just not how it works. So I met my mentor, and he basically was like a really successful, really nice man who was not toxically masculine, he had a lot of traditional gender roles in mind because he was a pretty conservative guy with the church. So there was a lot of that like women are homemakers, men are providers kind of attitude. But also he was like a smart, intelligent, sensitive man who talked about his feelings and was very open about, life experience and growing as a person and how to be, like a grown up, how to be a good human being, that kind of stuff. And he showed me like, you don't have to be this toxically masculine kind of traditional gender role kind of guy, and you could still be successful and still have meaningful relationships even if you weren't those things. So that actually like meant a lot to me when I was that age, because I again grew up in an area where that's so dominant, and it really kind of shapes every interaction you have because everyone seems like they have that attitude. It was just really nice, and he and I would have many long conversations. We would talk about my future. Now he was not perfect for sure. There were so many times, I don't know if I've talked about this before, there were so many times when he would call and say, hey, let's go out and get something to eat. I'm done with work for the day. I'm going to come by. Why don't we go out and have like a nice meal and whatever. And again, he was a very wealthy man. So when he would take me out places, it was like the only time I got like good food and, was like got anything fancy. Like he knew all the local restaurants because he would do sound systems and stuff. And like fancy places, and he would take me out, and like he worked a lot with like Chinese restaurants and stuff, so he was very involved in that community. And he would just take me places all the time. So he would say like, oh, I'm gonna come by, we'll go out and we'll get something to eat, whatever. And I'd go outside and wait for him. He'd be like, oh, I'll be there in 15 minutes. So I would go out and wait on the porch, regardless of the time of year. When he said he was going to be there, I would be outside waiting for him, and he just wouldn't show up. He would call like 45 minutes later, like a half hour after he was supposed to be here, and then he would just say like, oh, I'm running late, I'll be there in 10 minutes. And then of course he wouldn't, and then he would call and say he was late again, and would just push it back and back and back. And then before I knew it, it was like 9 p.m. and my family's like, oh, you can't go out, it's too late, because I was still in school at this time. And my family grew to hate him because like this happened all the time, where he would say he was coming and then just kind of leave me hanging. And my family grew to hate that. Like, here I am, their family member is constantly being let down by this man who's not showing up and is not reliable. So that was, he had bad to him. And he would say like, oh, I'm going to teach you how to do this. And, because we had a very father-son type relationship. And he would say things like, oh, I'll teach you to drive, when I was getting my license. Oh, I'll take you out and I'll teach you how to drive. And then, he wouldn't, and time would pass and I would bring it up and he would just be like, oh yeah, we'll do that. And then he just wouldn't, and whatever. He was a busy guy, don't get me wrong. And I'm definitely making excuses for him. But, yeah, that would have been probably the closest, like male relationship I've ever had, like friendship I've ever had. So definitely had an impact on my life. He taught me so many things about like just the way you treat other people and how you interact with other people. Like that was like the kernel of me becoming a better human being. It took me a really long time. Like that was a long journey for me. That was pretty difficult and had a lot of really negative, poor choices I made along the way. But that was like the beginning, like the seeds of me starting to be better and starting to work on treating people better and living a better life and things like that. We are getting low calorie messages again, so I think we're going to pop this other can of meat here because we just need more calories. We're just not eating enough calories. We're also exerting ourselves significantly, making those controls we actually got up to extremely weary. I think we'll pop this jar of meat here. We'll eat that throughout the day just to stay. In fact, ignore drinking for now and just put as much food in you as you can. Eat anyway. No, don't do that. What do we want to do? It's daylight. We should go gather frames again. I see we also didn't fully recover from weariness. That's interesting. Usually a full night's sleep will do it. We were very, very weary when we went to bed. Let's drop this arc welder. Anyway, he had a profound impact on my life for sure. There are a few people as well. There was a time in my life I was well, I don't want to be dark. I don't want to talk about dark and terrible things. But there was a time in my life when I was not doing well, when I was very hopeless and I felt like my future was destroyed and that there would never be a future for me. And I basically thought, oh, I'm going to find, I'm going to get a girlfriend or something. We're going to get married. I'll work in a factory. I'll be miserable. We'll make some kids and I'll grow to hate my family because I'm miserable. And that'll be the rest of my life, is just working in a factory until I die. And I met this dude who basically was like, that's stupid. Your life is not over. You're very young. At the time I was like 26. So had my whole life ahead of me still. And he was like, that's stupid. You're intelligent. You seem very capable. There's no reason you can't do something more successful than that and live like a life that actually can be valuable, and you can have a life where you can be happy, where you don't have to be poor and miserable all the time. You don't have to be, you don't have to just settle down with the first person that wants to have you. You can actually, have like a normal life. and he started talking to me about business stuff. You know, his whole thing was real estate and things like that is what he wanted to do. And he told me about all these books, and he gave me books to read about, forming a business and stuff like that. But I couldn't at the time, I couldn't think of what I would do business wise. Nothing really made sense to me. I don't have any expertise. I'm not really skilled at anything. So at the time I was really struggling to figure out like what could I possibly do that could ever earn me any amount of income. But yeah, he was like the first person to ever tell me like after all the terrible things that had happened in my life and all the bad choices I made that shaped my life, he was like the first person to be like, so what, you're literally, I was like 25 or 26. He's like, you're so young, you literally have your whole life ahead of you. You don't have to let bad choices define who you are for the rest of your life. You can recover and you can go on to be something. And those talks with him gave me that little spark of hope, like maybe, like I always doubted it, that's how my depression is. In the back of my head I was like, okay, for someone else maybe, if someone else, because that's what I would say if someone was like 26 and they were coming to me and being like, oh, I can't do anything, I'm never going to be happy, I'm just going to be miserable forever. That's what I would tell them. I'd say, look, you're so young, you have so much time. Even if you try something and fail, you still, let's say, you're 26, you spend 4 years trying to build something and it falls apart, you're still only 30 and still have your whole life ahead of you to figure things out. So like, that's good advice that I would give someone else. But when it was me, I was like, oh, I don't know if this guy is right or not, but it got me open to it. It started to get me thinking more about business. And this guy, he was a little bit of a schemer. He was like, he talked a lot about like tax evasion and stuff, and how to avoid paying taxes. And I was like, I don't know if that's really what I want to be learning about. But he talked a lot of things that do make sense, like how a business can cover a lot of expenses provided that they're for the business. So instead of something coming out of your pocket, if you have a business that is centered around doing some of these things, you can expense a lot of those things. And he taught me the difference between like an asset and a liability, and what some people think are assets. Like most people, if you ask them what's your biggest asset, they would say like, oh, well, my house. But the reality is their house is a liability. And most people don't understand that. So we just had a lot of talks about that kind of stuff that opened me up to the possibility of being business oriented. So that was definitely a huge impact in the last like 10 years for sure. Anyway, that's enough of this. Everybody, thank you for watching. I think we're gonna call the episode here. We're pretty productive today. We got some stuff done, and yeah, I'm excited to be doing some vehicle work. And thank you for listening to me ramble about positive influences in my life. Nice to be positive for once. Everyone, thank you so much for watching. I'll be back with more Cataclysm in the near future, and I'll see you in the next video.